Thank you so much for joining us once more for another in our series, A Story to Tell. Today we have with us Dr. Chrisanne Simpson Harley, and she'll be sharing with us her journey up to this point in her life. Chrisanne, how are you doing?
I'm good, Leslie. Thanks for having me.
Could you just tell us about your earlier years, the community you were born in, your parents and stuff?
Okay, so I was born at the University Hospital in glorious fashion after 18 hours of labor, which my mother reminds me of pretty frequently, once a year, September 22nd. And I grew up in Harborview, which is, everybody knows Harborview, heading to the airport. And it was really good growing up in Harborview. I mean, the community was full of a lot of older people, so you learn to respect, your neighbors, and you sort of had that good neighborly friendship. And my parents are both teachers by profession, Harris and Christine Simpson. Right, so they're teachers by profession. So I grew up with an understanding that education was extremely important. Like, that was outside of serving God, education had to be your main focus. So my parents, really instilled that in us, and the value of hard work and loving Jesus, loving people. That was really important, and sharing what you had with people. So if it is that we had, one bag of ackee, it was sharing up for everybody. They would carry it to church or carry it to work, and that's how we grew up. My parents are really awesome people.
Your first encounter with school and stuff, walk us through that.
Okay, so my first school that I attended was Marybond Basic School, which is in Harborview. Marybond, really good basic school. And my first true memories of it was with my teacher, Miss Cole, who really encouraged my love of reading. So every time I did well, she would give me a book. When it was graduation, that is actually my fondest memory, because I got dressed up in my pretty white dress and my white frilly socks and my black patent shoes. I was beautiful, and my little bang in my hair. That time bang was a style. It was glorious. Yes. So
from those days, you love to dress up.
I love to dress up from those days. Yes, fashion is.
And you moved on to St. Teresa?
Right, I moved on to St. Teresa Prep School. And, St. Teresa Prep School was a very good experience for me. I mean, they instilled a lot of discipline, and also the encouragement of, my passion for reading was there as well. I had a challenge in prep school in terms of hating homework. I hate homework.
That
Legitimately hated homework.
Okay.
So I would find every way to get out of doing homework. It was really bad. I mean, I think I went to the office quite a few times for quite a few beatings for that one, for the homework. But it was there. I did prep and primary school challenge quiz, and we came second in that. I'll never forget. So that was a really good experience. And then I took common entrance and passed common entrance, and then went to Campion for 5 years. Yeah.
So that means you did really well at common entrance?
I did really well at common entrance. I mean, for me, it was our teachers prepared us pretty well. And then I always had a competitive drive as well. So I always tried to come first, and once I had a goal in mind, I'd just work really hard at it. At the time, sort of lost that drive when I went to Campion. I mean, when I went to Campion, I became really distracted. I was now in the teenage mode, became a lot more insecure. So in prep school, I was a lot, more sure of myself. In high school, just got distracted by, the people around me, trying to be like other people. I really felt like I lost myself. And I felt like the environment sort of was set up to create that in some kind of way, unfortunately. So I never really quite felt like myself.
Did you quite fit in?
I didn't feel like I didn't feel as if I fitted in at Campion at all. Like there were 3 of us in our class that pretty much took the bus home.
Oh, you took the bus.
So I took the bus. Yes. So when everybody's driving in their BMWs and Benz, and you sort of foot in it. Yeah.
And you were still living in Harborview at the time?
I was still living in Harborview at the time. So I moved from Harborview when I was in 3rd form. Right. And then you're still taking the bus to, all the way past Spanish Town. So you weren't necessarily the person that, everybody would invite to their parties. And then my parents were pretty strict in terms of, having us go to people's houses and stuff. It wasn't really something that my parents liked doing unless they knew the persons really well. They were very protective, which now I see the benefit of, right? Because I think it saved me from experiencing some of the things that I just wasn't ready to experience. Yeah. But at that point, you never really quite understood why your parents were, being the way they were. Like I thought my parents were not so great and really wicked.
Most of us were, but looking back,
I see the benefit.
How was your performance at Campion up to 3rd form thereabout?
It wasn't that great, honestly. I mean, because I was so distracted by what was going on around me, I never really did well. I mean, I was just pretty much cruising through a C student. So I went from being an A student all the time, all the way from basic school. And, for you to get to the point where you're a C student and occasionally a D student, especially when it came to math, oh my gosh.
You didn't like math?
Did not like math. I remember in 4th form, I got on my final exam at 27% for math.
Wow, a whopping 27%.
A whopping whole of 27%. I think it was just the Lord that held my father back why I never get some decent licks that time, right? Yeah, so I mean, it became more and more of a struggle for me. And then in 5th form, I had a really great extra lesson teacher, Mr. Henry, who I think is still a Campion. He was just awesome. He made us as students feel as if you could do anything. And just having somebody have that confidence in you made you work harder, made you think, all right, I think I can do this. And I actually, when I finished CXCs, I got a 1 for math.
Seriously?
I got a 1 for math. From 27% to a 1 for math. Yeah.
Mr. Henry did an excellent job.
He did an excellent job. And he did an excellent job with me in physics as well. So, I mean, it really helped to form that foundation for me to, go through, to get into medicine finally, because you had to have those subjects in CXE. So I couldn't have afforded to fail the sciences or fail math.
So what was your grades for the other CXE subjects?
I got 3 1s and 5 2s, which was not enough for me to get into Campion 6th form.
It was a high level to attain to reach into 6th
get
form.
into 6th form at Campion. But all things work together for good. To them that love God, I believe that the Lord just had enough of me being there and just wanted me to move on. And I mean, I pretty much helped him out a lot by just not doing anything much anyway. So, oh, no. I mean, so I ended up not getting into Campion 6th form. What actually happened is that, when that time for 6th form came around, the principal at Campion said to my parents, she got a 1 for accounts and she got a 1 for math. Why not have her do business? And my father said, no, she wants to be a doctor. She always wanted to be a doctor. So that is what she's going to do. And then they went down to Arden, and Arden accepted me into 6th form. And then at Arden now, I felt more at home. I mean, Arden, everybody walk into halfway tree I mean,
you felt at home again.
Yeah, finally. I mean, I felt more like myself. I was participating in sports. I was participating in clubs. I felt, like I could just be myself, and that really helped me to perform as well. It's amazing how just your mental comfort level helps you to do well in, whatever it is that you're setting out to achieve. And then I had another awesome teacher at Arden, Mr. Garfield Grandison. I mean, he had decided that, so he had originally done his degree in business and decided that he wanted to do medicine. So he came back, taught himself A-levels, got into medicine, and was teaching us as well A-levels. So he taught me A-level math, A-level chemistry, right? And he also taught me AdMath. So I went on to get A for AdMath, A for A-level maths, coming from somebody who, So
it goes to show that the teacher can really make a difference.
They can make a difference.
Hate the subject.
Even when a child hates the subject and is seemingly uninterested in the subject or is just not doing very well, I find that just that gentle encouragement, like, yes, you can do it. Let me show you how you can do it. Let me show you how I can help you to do it. Because that person just really wants somebody to believe in them as well. And then you always have students that are harder nuts to crack, but I find that it should have been a more rewarding experience for a teacher to work hard and see that person perform. I know it was a rewarding experience when Mr. Henry saw me in my white jacket at, in med school. I mean, he gave me like the biggest hug. I mean, it meant a lot to him that, and I remembered. And he was like surprised that you remember, and I'm just like, yeah.
It means a lot to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, teachers have a major role to play in how students perform. I really believe that.
So you did well at the A-levels and you got into med school.
Right. So I went directly into med school, much to the shock of some of my previous classmates from my previous school. But I mean, that's where the Lord wanted me to be. And I think he definitely had a point to prove. And I really believe that he acts on the good desires of your heart.
True.
So, I mean, when I was in sixth form, like Mr. Grandison, he would call us as a group, wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, okay, here's the work.
Call you 3 a.m.
Call us 3 a.m. Call a group of us 3 o'clock in the morning. And we'd be up studying. I never felt anyway, and he'd be up explaining. And even though he wasn't my biology teacher, he went and he got all the bio information, because at one point we had to change over in terms of biology teachers. And he went and downloaded all the additional information, everything, to help us with bio. So the rest of us that were doing bio, so he was helping us with 3 subjects, 3 A-level subjects. He's in this, Mr. Garfield Grandison.
Sound like an angel in disguise.
He is an angel. Yeah, just great. Yeah, he's in the States now. Yeah.
So how was your first year in med school?
The first year was a little difficult, just the adjustment because you went from a stage where you were getting a lot of help to somewhere where you had to figure it out a lot on your own. But I mean, it still came pretty naturally to me. So in the first year of medical school, still had Garfield around, still had Mr. Grandison around, because he was the year ahead of me. So he would always come back and help, give us additional, help and information. But I began to feel like I was fitting into my own skin now. This is what I was meant to do, and I felt it, and I became much more secure in myself, started to understand myself a little bit better, just started to grow as a person, I wouldn't say grow as a Christian, because being in university, I think I became a little distracted spiritually. It wasn't, for want of a better word. But sort of got it together by the time I got to like third year. Fourth year was the hardest. So fourth year I had exams like every 5 weeks. So when you're having exams for a different subject every 5 weeks, so for example, 5 weeks you're doing orthopedics, the other 5 weeks you're doing dermatology, the other 5 weeks you're doing anesthetics, none of which are really related to each other. And then at the end of that year, you had a major pathology exam, and you weren't doing much of that throughout the year, so you had to be keeping track of that to do that major exam. And if you fail that exam, you'd have to do the whole year over. Oh my gosh, it was really stressful. Thank God for the Pan Chicken Man by Northside Plaza. I mean, he that chicken soothed quite a few hurts. Yeah, and Baskin Robbins ice cream. Yes. But I mean, you know, the Lord really sustained me. I could feel as if, I know that there are times when I sat down and studied that the Lord definitely said, this is what you should study. Because then I'd go into the exam and I was prepared for an exam that I wasn't prepared for. So I knew that the Lord had it in mind for me to do this and do it well.
How you handled the fees for university?
So initially when going into university, I had applied for student loan, and I wasn't able to get a guarantor that could help. So my parents decided, you know, come what may, they would, you know, try and come up with the school fees. And the Lord provided for them to be able to do that. I know it had to be God to provide every single year for 5 years. And then like the times when they couldn't pay it on time, there were, you know, when they went to whosoever at accounts or whatever, the person would, you know, they would just find favor. God would give them favor, and the person would say, all right, when you can find it, which does not happen. Yeah. And then my brother started university, Paul started university about 2 or 3 years after I did. So then they had 2 children in university.
That must be
challenging. That was challenging, but the Lord provided. And I mean, both of us went through. Yeah. My parents worked really hard to make sure that we had a good education. Really, really hard. Yeah.
So medicine is a 5-year program?
So medicine is a 5-year program, after which you do internship where you work. So when we went through med school, there are no major, I think we got like a 6-week holiday between 2nd and 3rd year. That has been the extent of my holidays since I was 17, pretty much, because you start working 2 weeks after you finish med school. So you do internship, and internship are long hours. You're talking about 56, 72 hours. I mean, you'll be working from the Friday till the Monday evening. I mean, you'll be doing the whole weekend. You'll be doing duties back to back. I mean, it was difficult, but I did my internship at Spanish Town Hospital, had some awesome experiences, had some really good consultants, had great nurses. I mean, nurses are awesome. I think I learned a lot more from nurses in terms of practically than I did from, you know, like doctors per se, especially as a student and in internship. I mean, the nurses are just awesome. So I really enjoyed it. So even though you were tired, it was like happy tired. Yeah. So I mean, the first day though, I said, what did I get myself into? Like when you went through the whole day, you couldn't eat, you couldn't stop to take a break. I said, all right, I don't think I thought this through. But I mean, you know, just seeing patients improve, and, you know, hearing patients tell you thank you, and, you know, remembering you, and they come back, it made a huge difference.
So a 2-year internship at Spanish Town.
So it's 1 year. You do 1 year internship, and then I moved on to residency. Right. So I actually moved from Spanish Town after internship, and I went to Mandeville Hospital, and I started in accident and emergency. Really loved accident and emergency. I loved the drama, loved the chaos, and yeah, loved it. But then that wasn't what the Lord wanted me to do. I was like abruptly moved to obstetrics and gynecology, and then really found, you know, what I was meant to do. I mean, I had always struggled with endometriosis. So endometriosis is something that, so the lining that a woman sheds every month, it's outside the uterus. So when you have your periods, the periods can be very heavy, very painful. I mean, you're talking about sleeping on the floor. I mean, I also had something called polycystic ovaries, so my periods were all over the place. I couldn't track my periods. You're having periods for weeks at a time. So I had always struggled with those issues from the time I was in high school. So when I went into ONG and had to be dealing with women with the same sort of issues, I mean, I fell right into it because I understood exactly what they were talking about. And I said, you know what? I went through it. Let me see how I can help you through it. Because when you are a doctor, you get easier help from other doctors. But sometimes as patients, they don't always access that. So if you can be somebody that's helping them through it, it can make a huge difference. And just to say, I've been there. Like I always use the statement, you know, I've been there, worn that t-shirt. Yeah. It's something that it really helps patients to know that they're not alone, right? And somebody else went through it, and I can go through it too, and come out on the other end and be okay.
True. So you went on to do your PhD in
yeah,
gynecology.
So went on to do my PhD in gynecology. Really, I mean, I knew that this is what the Lord wanted for me.
That?
I started my 2007. My PhD started the formal PhD, because before that I was working in the department, but in terms of the formal book work and doing a thesis, I started that in 2007 and finished in 2011. Right, so that is a 4.5-year course.
And what was you have a special research that you do for the thesis and so?
Right, so I actually looked at, a lot of women who do pap smears find it very uncomfortable. So I researched a particular position that women could adopt while doing the pap smears to make it much less uncomfortable, which I still use to this day. So like patients will say, oh, you know how to do that, like fine, like it's not as painful. And I say, yeah, because we actually studied it and it worked. That's what we looked at. We also looked at babies who were, women who went into premature labor, the the kind of bacteria that was involved, the kind of treatment that they got, especially how the treatment could have prevented them from going from preterm labor to quick delivery. So we also studied that as well.
So after you graduated with your PhD gynecology, you went into the public sector to work?
Actually, no. I mean, I was always working in the public sector. So I finished medicine in 2004. So from internship onwards until 2011, I was always working in the public sector. When I finished, I actually went and did sessions in the public sector, but my main day was spent, so I went into private practice. So I had actually started a private practice about 2 years before I finished my PhD. So I was working as a general practitioner. So I just continued that and then had the added dimension of doing gynecology.
Okay. You started your family as well. Can you just give us that journey, how you met your husband and stuff?
Okay, so I actually met my husband through a friend. When I was working at Mandeville Regional Hospital, had a friend who he just came to me one day and said, you know, the Lord told him that, you know, he should give Mark, my husband, my number. I said, the
really
Lord,
no?
Yeah, right. And I say, when last you even pray, much less go to church, to hear from the Lord. Him say, listen, him never need to go none of those places. He heard from the Lord, and this is what he pestered me for like weeks. And then one day I just say, all right, just give him my number. And I mean, Mark called me the first time. The first time he called me, I was at work and I couldn't answer. The second time he called me, I had just come from work and I was dog tired. I mean, knowing my husband now, like I'm wondering how come him called back the third time? But I knew that was God. The third time he called back and we spoke, it was as if we were old friends catching up. It was as if I knew him all my life, and we were just, you know, fast friends. We got on like house on fire.
So what you found that you had in common?
Everything.
For the link?
I mean, from how we felt about God. I had prayed like years before, and I had said to God after some pretty disastrous relationship attempts. I said, God, you know what? I mean, when you provide a husband, I want somebody who loves God. Because I think that a man who loves God will know how to love me, right? And, you know, he has to make me laugh, come a love laugh, love a good joke. He has to make me laugh and he has to be, you know, serious about, you know, his work and about family and just the way he treats me. I just want to be, you know, treated well. And the Lord really sent that person. My husband is awesome. I could not do my job without the person that my husband is, because my job is extremely intense and extremely busy. And I think most of the time I feel as if my husband is raising my children sometimes, but then I have that support, which is really good. It helps me to, you know, focus a lot more on the things that I love to do and not feel bad for doing that.
So
Mark
that person that brought you together, so to speak, is he still in Jamaica?
He's actually in the States now, so all the people when I love gone foreign. But I mean, he's in the States now because he migrated with his family. Apparently he set up 2 other couples pretty much the same way, who I think are still together.
Yeah, so like
I'm hoping that he's doing that in the States now. But yeah, he's really good at, I don't know, listening to the Lord. I would say he's really good at listening to the Lord. Yeah. So after we got married, struggled with infertility for a couple of years because of my gynae issues with the endometriosis and the polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was told that I would potentially never have children.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, and especially I went through a lot of hormonal treatments, was put into menopause at one point. I mean, I was put on injections to be put in menopause. That was crazy. And then had to do that again, did surgery. Oh my gosh, I don't think there's a pill that I don't know, an injection I don't know, a hormone that I don't know, like personally. So even if I was not a gynecologist, I would know them.
Could I do it from the side?
Could I do it from the side? Yeah, so I mean, you know, going through, you know, all of that experiences, it strengthened my understanding as a gynecologist in terms of dealing with other women as well. But, you know, when I actually went as far as to try something called IUI, so it's like a step-down version to in vitro fertilization. So they started the medication, gave me the injections. So the injections really are to help you produce an egg. I did not produce one egg. Not one. Not a layer chicken. Yes, not a layer chicken. Yeah, did not produce one egg. And, you know, was talking to the Lord, and the Lord clearly spoke to me and asked me, what is it that I think the doctors can do that he can't?
Clear as that?
As clear as I'm talking to you. And, you know, I just said, all right, you know what, I'm going to just stop and whatever. And my doctor said, you know what, yeah, give yourself a break. You know, maybe try again next year, you know, emotionally sort of get yourself together, and then we'll try again. That was the February. I was pregnant by the August.
Just like that?
Just like that.
And they say you couldn't have it?
Oh yeah, and had no issues in the pregnancy, had no drama, nothing, ate down the place, put on 70 pounds, it was glorious. Yeah,
so
and I had a daughter, Jessie Michelle, 9 pounds 4 ounces of gloriousness.
Wow.
Yeah, she was big. And then about 2 years later, got pregnant again, just like that.
And it rains, it pours.
Yeah, but this time I actually ended up with a miscarriage.
Oh,
and
that one didn't go through.
It never went through, but the day before the miscarriage, the Lord spoke to me clearly again. Those are the times when it just happens that the Lord decides to talk to me, like clearly, like I'm talking to you. Like there are times when I have to wait on him, but this time he just, you know, I just heard the voice clearly. You know, what would you do if you had a miscarriage? And I said, you know, what am I going to do? I just would have to, you know, deal with it and move on. And the next day, that was that. You know,
so how far along you were?
I was about 10 weeks pregnant. 10 weeks. It was a difficult emotional experience because, you know, part of you go back and you say, even though you have one child and a child is healthy, was it a fluke? So you start doubting a lot of things when this happens to you. But then, you know, the Lord clearly showed me in my practice, why is it that I went through that? Because I've seen, after that point, I saw a lot of women going through it, and then it it helped for me to also be able to say, you know, it has happened to me. And you're going to be okay.
And how you dealt with it?
Yeah.
You had to stay home for a while or something?
You know, honestly, it happened on my birthday. I pretty much after 2 days just went right back to work because I needed to be distracted by my work. It was a emotional experience, so I really needed to take my mind off it. So just being around my patients and working really helped me to do that. But then 1 year later, I was pregnant again without any intervention, and there was Joshua.
So this time when you got pregnant, were you reluctant to inform persons about this? Like you want to wait to see that everything was safe before you moved on?
No, not really. I was my typical excited self again. Like, oh, I'm pregnant, okay. Yeah, so what happened is that when I got to, the 3-month mark, then I celebrated a lot more. I don't think I was excessively cautious. It was there in the back of my head, but I tried not to dwell on it. Because your training teaches you that, the average woman going through her, what we call her reproductive career, might have one miscarriage, right? Some women just don't even know that they're having a miscarriage. They just see a period. The period might be a little late. It's a little heavier than they expect, and not realizing that it's actually a miscarriage that they're having. So it's fairly common. It's just that when it happens to you, it can be more than a little devastating. Yeah.
So you had a son this time. What's his name?
His name is Joshua. Yeah.
How was he? He has been. How has parenting
been? Parenting has been. It's challenging because of my schedule. But as I said, thank God for my very awesome husband that likes to sit and do homework and pick up and drop off. It sometimes affects me as a mother when I can't spend the kind of time that I would want with them because of the nature of my job and, starting my new business and that kind of thing. But the Lord has given me children who are just very loving and lovable and, coming to your bed 3 o'clock in the morning. It's awesome. My son is very active, extremely active. My daughter is just a little lady. But my son, I don't think he walks. He runs everywhere, right? And he talks just as much. Definitely his mother's child. Yeah.
Not a jacket.
Not a jacket. Yeah. So it's been good. Challenging but good. Yeah.
Throughout our conversation so far, you mentioned a lot about God. How important is a relationship with God to you personally?
It's everything. It's the entire reason why I function. It has brought me through a lot of very, very difficult moments. Just, having a relationship with God, trusting God, because a lot of the things that I've experienced, in medical school and in my medical career, there are just times that you just have to call on Him. You just have to rely on Him. Because there's so much and no more sometimes that you can do as a doctor. And then, the Lord steps in and you see bona fide miracles, many times. It's part of the reason why, I try and stay close to Him, because it gives me a sense of peace and well-being. There is, honestly, I find it hard to understand how people live without Him. That's all I can say about it. It's my foundation.
Okay. You went into business. Could you walk us through your journey into business and how difficult was that?
So the first business that I started, the medical center, that was challenging because, you're a unknown quantity really. So, you had to build your business from scratch in terms of patients knowing you. So that was very challenging, considering that, the light bills come in every month same way and everything, and you're new at it. It was difficult at first, and then, the Lord provided. He provided more patients, and patients started telling other patients. So that grew the business. And then, the Lord dropped into my spirit to start another business, which is a distribution business. The foundation of which I had an idea because, you know, as a doctor and as a gynecologist, I was seeing a lot of patients that were coming with like recurrent infections, yeast infections, having heavy periods, and most women would just, you know, talk about like the pads that they were using, the struggles that they were having with the pads. I was having the same struggles. And I said, you know what, as a gynecologist and a woman, I'm sure I can come up with something better, research something better, get something better, do something better. So that's how I came up with womanstouch. So womanstouch is 100% cotton, ultra thin, super absorbent sanitary pad. And we've been getting like rave reviews about it. I also created something called a multi-pack. So a woman's flow changes throughout her cycle.
Samples here.
Right, I do. So, so this is the multi-pack. So the multi-pack has 4 different sizes of pads plus panty liners in one pack. So what tends to happen as women is that we go into the supermarket and we buy like 3 or 4 different sizes of pads, usually about 3, and then we buy in panty liners separate, and then they're all in little bags and they're all pulled. So this bag is pulled and that bag is pulled and whatever, you have them put down until potentially next period. And I'm just like, why not have that in one convenient box where you can, you know, pull the box, you know, open it, take out what you want, use what you want, close it back, and then you have for your next cycle. I mean, if it is that you need an additional size, you can just go and get another pack and, you know, but you still have, you know, all the sizes in one convenient storage. So
that's the multi-pack.
This is the multi-pack, right? And then we have the individual sizes as well. So we have for the regular flow and the heavy flow. So we have this one, this size. So this is the heavy flow, and we have the regular flow as well. So this is the regular flow. So pretty much small, easy to fit into your handbag. They're also fully enclosed, so you can, you know, women tend to have the habit of they get the pad and they put it in the handbag. You know, it's fully enclosed, so you can't put anything into it.
Enclosed.
Right. So I'm just going to pull this. So I mean, just simple packaging, really easy to pull, but you can't pull it. You have to open it.
Yeah.
So if it's thrown into your handbag, you know, there are no M&Ms dropping into your pad, right? There's no pin in your pad, and then you have to say, oh my gosh, I have to go and buy a pad because the pad in my bag won't work out. Yeah. So I mean, I thought about all of those things, and I think sometimes it takes a woman to figure this. A woman to, you know, think about those. And then, you know, when I was pregnant and was about to have baby, when I went to the supermarket at the time, so my son is 3, there were no maternity pads on the market, and the ones that I was finding elsewhere, they were either super thin or they weren't just very functional, because after you've had a baby, you want something that's super soft but extremely absorbent, because the flow is much heavier right after you have baby. So you wanted something that really absorbs all of that and doesn't leak, because when you're busy up and down dealing with a baby, you need something that actually works and you're not running to the bathroom to change all the time. So that's how I came up with Mother's Embrace. So another womanstouch pad, but these are the maternity pads. So they're in most of the retailers: Hilo, Mega Mart, General Foods, Loshushan, Brooklyn Supermarkets, Fontana. So we've been getting a lot of support from I would say most of our retailers. We still have, you know, major retailers who are saying, oh, it's an unknown product, but I trust that the Lord will do it in His time, because it's His idea, so it's in His time.
So how did you go about putting your team? Because I know you have to have a special team to put all these together, from conception to actual operation.
So I always say that I am research and development, but the Lord has put some awesome people in my life. And he had them there. So my husband is a major part of what I do. I mean, he is head cook, bottle washer, driver. I mean, he helps with all the operations. I mean, even from my business banker who saw the idea and said, you know what, girl, I'm going to help you and make sure that you get the funding to help to do this. You know, my team, so my sales manager, Nikisha, who is just a really awesome friend, you know, so I get a lot of support, and the team has been building slowly, our sales team, our merchandising team. It's like the Lord just bringing people and putting them in place. So the business has been growing from strength to strength. God is good.
You started earlier this year, 2018.
Right. So we actually started late 2017, but in terms of putting everything together for the sanitary pads themselves, that started earlier this year. Yes.
All right, so guys, go out and support womanstouch.
Yes, buy womanstouch. Yes. It's awesome.
It's a Jamaican product,
and
right?
a Jamaican product, yes.
All right, so we're going to wrap up now. Before you go, could you just give our viewers a word of encouragement?
First thing I would say is, if it is that you haven't had a personal relationship with the Lord, start from there, because you're always going to be faced with circumstances that just seem like they're going to overwhelm you. I mean, you're going to always have people who are going to tell you that you're not good enough, but you are good enough. God created you and you're fearfully and wonderfully made. I mean, you're always going to have situations that make you feel insecure and extremely discouraged and feel like you just want to give up and move on. Do not give up and move on. The Lord will send the right person to help. I mean, just focus on what it is, because the Lord has put gifts inside of all of that, all of us, and all of us have a special role to play, not only in you know, general society or whatever, but in the individual lives of others. So there are times when just the little things that you can do can help somebody else, you know, grow that gift. And that sometimes will pave the way for you to experience, you know, greater things. So I'd just say, never give up. No matter what it is, never give up, and trust and hold on the Lord.
Thank you so much for joining us, Chrisanne. It was a delight to have you sharing your experiences with us.
Thanks for having me, Lestine. I really appreciate it.
Why keep leaving out the doctor? Dr.
I'm never born doctor.
Okay. Thanks for having us, Dr. Chrisanne Simpson Harley.
Yes.
I know this will inspire a lot of persons.
Thanks for having me, Lestine.
Thanks for joining us another week in our series, A Story to Tell. Join us next time when we'll have another interesting discussion with another interesting person. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you'll be notified of other great videos. Have a blessed day, everyone.